Saturnalia, in praise of Saturn. Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. This is Taliesin McKnight. And this is a video that I actually haven't talked about this before, but I plan to for a long time. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Saturnalia and a reverence for Saturn during this period. So I think it's very useful to, and it kind of connects with Saturn, right? Because Saturn is associated with time, and one etymology of the Greek equivalent chronos is chronos time. It's where you get the word chronology. So chronological order is like in the order of events. So today we're talking about Saturnalia, which was a Roman festival to the god Saturn. So I think it's very useful in connecting with the 7 astrological powers, the 7 planetary powers, to kind of do some research about these 7 divinities or powers, and also to look into how was it perceived in the Renaissance, how was it understood in the Middle Ages, and also how was it seen in late antiquity in the classical period. I think the sacralization of time, making time sacred, by working with the 7 planets in the days of the week, or honoring for example, Saturn during the ancient festival of Saturnalia, I think that it's a very useful practice. It helps to make time sacred. It helps to connect us with the spirits that we're working with. It plugs us into those divine powers. And also it helps us. Often we get so bogged down with our daily life and our jobs. It's good to make time sacred, and this helps to incorporate magic into our daily lives. So that very much has to do with Saturn as well, the concept of time and time being sacred. Notice that Saturn was a god associated with agriculture and time. And what is a great key to agriculture is the passage of time, observation of the seasons. There is a time to plant and a time to harvest. So Saturn is often associated with learning, with knowledge, with monks, with like setting... this connection. It has to do with being set apart, So hermits and recluses, monks, people that are separated from the community, also with scholars and mystics. Saturn is associated with the soil, with agriculture, with farming, with planting and harvesting, which again has to do with time. He has to do with the aged, with tradition, also discipline and boundaries, having boundaries. Notice the rings of Saturn. The ring around Saturn is a boundary. Okay, limitation. And of course, time. Time consumes us all. So today we're talking about Saturn a little bit. So Saturnalia was a Roman festival dedicated to the god Saturn. So 2,000 years ago, around this time of year, everyone was honoring Saturn. It would begin with the sacrifice to Saturn in the temple of Saturn, and there would, in later times, be a procession. And the image of the god Saturn would be set up, and people would feast. So Saturnalia, Saturn also governed the golden age, when you have the golden, silver, bronze, and iron ages. The Golden Age, governed by Saturn or Kronos, was a time in which we didn't have to work. We didn't have to toil in the soil. Actually, we didn't have wars, according to these succession of ages. In the Golden Age, governed by Saturn, we had this time in a way where we didn't have to worry about a lot of leisure. Okay, so that Saturnalia was often celebrated as a time away from work, a time where social roles were often reversed or suspended. In ancient Rome, slaves would sit and eat with their slave masters. There was this idea of even turning around the traditional like social roles and hierarchies and things like that. So Saturnalia was actually a really great time. We tend to think of Saturn as being all about restrictions and boundaries, and it is. But in this case, in the festival of Saturnalia, it was very much seen as a time of merrymaking and license. For this period, we could go back and enjoy this golden age governed by Kronos or Saturn. So, by celebrating, I highly recommend that during this period, there's a 7-day period, that people work with Saturn a little bit, try to connect with that energy. So, what we have are these seven divine powers that we're working with in magic, seven divine intelligences or souls or powers in the cosmos. They could also be seen as, in a way, seven windows. We are glancing up into the divine mind and into the divine order. And by understanding these hidden sympathies, not only can we draw down to create, but perhaps we could climb upward. We can move upward, as Agrippa says in his first chapter of his 3 books of occult philosophy, that we also can move up through these hidden sympathies to go back unto our source. So we have these 7 powers within ourselves. We have these 7 powers in the cosmos. The soul of man is like a 7-runged lyre. So we all have these different qualities. And it's important, I think, to make these spiritual connections. So by honoring Saturn during Saturnalia, for example, we're able to maintain these divine connections, these connections with these spirits or divinities or angels, however you want to see that. We're maintaining these connections. We're making time sacred. We are learning to attune to these different energies, and we're also incorporating magic and the sacred into our own lives. And perhaps through devotion to the gods, or to the angels, or to these divine powers, by connecting with them, perhaps it could bring us upward. As a theurgist would say, it could help to get us to partake in the divine essence, so that through our devotional practices and ceremony, it could also carry the soul upwards. As the divine Pymander says in the Corpus Hermeticum, we have a 7-runged ladder. So we have this idea of maintaining connections with our spirits and the 7 divine powers. We have an idea of maintaining these connections, of making time sacred, and so that when we need to, we can more easily pull down. And we also have this idea that through devotion to the divine powers, we are also able to elevate our own souls in the process. And then also, a lot of people have issues with Saturn because it's like obstacles and things. There's a harsh there's a more hardline aspect, a way of doing magic where you're trying to make full-on talismans or trying to do full-on spirit evocation. Those things, there are different ways to look at it. If certain planets are afflicted in your natal chart, there are some traditions that say that when planets are afflicted in your chart, that there may be some kind of backfire when you try to make talismans and things. I haven't tested this a whole lot, but through just making offerings and prayers, more of a soft devotional approach might be a more safe approach. And then also with a softer approach through devotion, the lighting of candles and offerings and things like that. Also, it helps us to connect, but also we don't have to worry so much about astrological configurations. What is this the auspicious timing? Talismans and things like that, a lot of that was focused on electional astrology, finding the right timing. But as an example, Saturnalia is the same time every year. So anyways, what I'm saying is through simple devotional acts, lighting of candles, incense, prayers, is a way that we can work with these energies without trying to do like a full talisman or a more of a more hardcore approach. Through a softer approach, maybe we don't have to pay so much attention to astrological timing, or maybe even have blowback from afflicted planets in our charts, which a lot of that has to do with the essential dignities and debilities. So when is Saturnalia? When is it? We know that Saturnalia, so what is Saturnalia? Saturnalia was an ancient Roman festival to the god Saturn. During a later period, it was 7 days. During this period, again, being a reflection of the Saturnian golden age, people didn't work, and they didn't have all these strict like social rules and things like that. They would do gambling, and slaves and free people would kind of commingle. Rich people would sit with their slaves in ancient Rome and eat together. Or there's even some people that say that the wealthy would serve their slaves in Roman society. So there's like a turning upward or a turning over of the social order, a suspension from labor and work, a time that is reflective of the golden age associated with Saturn. So Saturnalia was often celebrated as a time of merrymaking and gift-giving. Sounds familiar. And also, it was a time to honor the god Saturn. So I think if people get into astrological magic, this is a perfect time to work with Saturn. What I recommend is just lighting a candle, burning some incense, maybe offer some fruit or whatever. So what is the timing of Saturnalia? Now, the Gregorian calendar only dates to the 16th century. But they used the Julian calendar, and in the Julian calendar, Saturnalia was celebrated from December 17th up until the 23rd. So December 17th through the 23rd, 17 to 23. So I think there's a little leeway. I think a lot of people nowadays, they just celebrate December 17th to the 23rd. They don't really worry about correcting the calendar. Although in the Gregorian calendar, you add 13 days. So this would actually be like December 30th through January 6th. I think I'm going to go ahead and do it, y'all. I'm not going to worry about it. So December 17th, what I plan to do is get one of those 7-day glass encased candles and maybe some onyx, burn some Saturnian perfume. What do I recommend? The astrological manuals say to use foul odors for Saturn. I wouldn't do that in this case because it's an offering. What I would offer to Saturn as an incense, I recommend myrrh. Myrrh was used for anointing the dead and for embalming. In Egypt and even in the Bible, there are places where myrrh was used for anointing the dead. And Saturn does have an association with the dead. So I think that myrrh is an excellent incense for Saturn. Myrrh and patchouli. I mean, the Orphic hymns list storax. The Orphic hymn to Saturn or Kronos, it says to burn storax. But I recommend patchouli or myrrh. I really like myrrh for working with Saturn. So that's what I would do. So a glass encased candle, you can get these 7-day candles. And how long is the festival? 7 days. Now you never want to leave it burning and like go in the other room or go to sleep. You always want to be present when a fire is there for safety. But I recommend getting like one of those 7-day candles, burn some myrrh at the hour of Saturn each day. So each of these 7 days at the hour of Saturn, burn some myrrh or some patchouli, recite the Orphic hymn to Saturn in his honor. Maybe offer a piece of fruit because he's associated with agriculture. So the lighting of candles, the burning of myrrh or patchouli, for example. So incense, candle, maybe a piece of fruit because of his association with agriculture. And what I recommend is during this 7-day period, I think it would be really fun. It would be a great way to try to connect with this energy. I mean, you don't really hear a lot of people celebrating Saturnalia nowadays. I think they should. Even in neo-pagan circles, you don't hear a whole lot about people celebrating Saturnalia. But why not, y'all? I'm going to do it. I highly recommend that people work with Saturn during this time, just through prayers and things like that. So December 17th up until December 23rd, there's a 7-day period. If you correct for the Gregorian calendar, I think it would be December 30th or January 6th, I believe. So black encased candle, patchouli, myrrh, a piece of fruit at the hour of Saturn, recite the Orphic hymn each day for those 7 days. That's what I recommend. Me personally, now I'm just giving recommendations here. I wouldn't really ask for anything because, I mean, it's not really a great time astrologically anyways. Me personally, I would just use this as an opportunity for devotion, for coming into contact with this energy, for establishing this connection. So I would just set this. You ever have a friend, every time they come over, they ask for something? Sometimes it's nice to just have somebody stop by every once in a while to say hello. So my approach, I would just do this as a devotional practice and not really ask for anything. This is a devotional practice. That's what I recommend. And I recommend that people learn about Saturn. Use this time to learn about Saturn. Wear black clothes. Kind of connect with that Saturnian aspect within yourself as well. I don't think the gods are entirely within the mind, but I think that they are reflected. Man is a microcosm of the greater macrocosm of the universe. And then also, people that are not comfortable giving fruit offerings to pagan deities, if you're not comfortable with that. Also the angel Cassiel. People that come from more of an Abrahamic background, they could be included too. They could just light a candle, little incense, and pray to Cassiel, the angel of Saturn, Cassiel. So that's what I recommend. So an early happy Saturnalia to everyone. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, but I think that this is a perfect opportunity for us to kind of honor Saturn, to kind of connect with that energy in a positive way. Through the lighting of candles and incense, maybe a piece of fruit, and just recite the Orphic hymn at the hour of Saturn during these 7 days. Once again, December 17th through the 23rd, that 7-day period. The 13th, the 17th to the 23rd. If you correct for the Gregorian calendar, you can do December 30th through January 6th. I prefer to do it a little earlier. So that's pretty much it for today. Now's the time. If you're going to get one of those black 7-day black candles, glass encased candles, now the time that you can order it online if you need to, and you have a few days for it to get here. Not too long. You probably get it at Walmart or wherever. But I just recommend a black candle, some myrrh or patchouli, maybe a piece of fruit, recite the Orphic hymn, and burn incense at the hour of Saturn during the 7-day period. So let me know how it goes. I hope that people take the opportunity to use this time, again, time, to connect with the sacred. All right, and to kind of connect with that energy. So that's just a quick video for y'all today. Yo, Saturnalia. Happy Saturnalia, y'all. It's coming up, and I'm going to celebrate. So I just wanted to make this video. All right, y'all, so that's it for today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I will see y'all in the next video. Have a great day, y'all.